All right, folks, and we are live on Jersey First TV's Facebook, YouTube, and X page. So if you've done so already, please go to Jersey First on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Drop a quick follow and share tonight's episode of Debate Night here in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. We are live here, so do tell your friends, text them right away. We're live on Jersey First TV. Folks, my name is Fernando Uribe. I'm the host and executive producer of Real Talk, which airs live every Monday on Jersey First TV. I want to thank Braddock, this wonderful venue, and really welcome to everybody here in gorgeous Medford, New Jersey, here in the heart of Burlington County. We appreciate you guys coming out. Give me some round of applause here tonight. Really good coming out here tonight. I want to thank the staff here at Braddock for their hospitality. And most importantly, I also want to thank the distinguished ladies of the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for helping me and Jersey First TV get this debate off the ground and to bring you debate night tonight here in the 3rd Congressional District here in New Jersey. Now at this time, real quick, I do want to just please stand and we can do the Pledge of Allegiance right now. Because we do that, you know, conservatives and Republicans believe in that stuff, you know. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out here tonight to debate night here at Braddock's in the heart of Burlington County in beautiful Medford, New Jersey. I want to take this opportunity once again to thank Braddock's, and if they can, I do want to welcome the Burlington County Federated Republican Women real quick for a statement and to welcome you all here tonight for debate night. Please.
Thank you, Fernando. My name is Pam Overton. I'm the vice chair for the Burlington County Federated of Republican Women, and we truly appreciate all of you coming out, making this a priority. I know these two candidates, and they're going to give us absolutely great debate. So we want to recognize a couple of people that have been able to make it. First, Alicia, the Camden County Federated of Republican Women, Claire Gustafson with Region 6. Vice Chair. Vice Chair for County Federate of Republican Women. Lower a little more. We have Pat Johnson with us, Mercer County Chairperson. And we have Van Connie with us. So yes. We would also like to, and I'll bring this to our attention, that we need poll workers. We need them for June 2nd. We need them in November. We need to have just as many Republicans poll workers as the Democrats have. So if you are interested in that, or you'd like us to gather information and maybe put it on our webpage, we'll be more than happy to do that. I know that I'm doing it. I've never done it before, so please pray for me because I have no idea, but I think it'll be fine. Again, we want to, welcome Jason Cullen and Michael McGuire for doing this debate, and for Fernando for working with us and this wonderful place in Braddock. And I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Great ladies here in the Burlington County Federated Republican Women, and we appreciate their assistance in helping us host tonight's event here at Braddock's. Now, before I introduce the candidates, I do want to have sort of a brief opening statement of my own here. Ladies and gentlemen, 2026 is an interesting year for Republicans. Certainly, we are all aware of the disappointments of 2025, but we have to remain vigilant. We have to remain optimistic about our chances of helping really take back the state. We've lived through decades of high taxes, irresponsible spending in Trenton and in Washington. We've been almost enslaved by woke ideology and a lot of the social justice nonsense that has engulfed our political climate. Republicans have a real chance this year, not just nationally, but in New Jersey, to make a dent into what many see as a Democrat stranglehold on New Jersey. I know it's easy to lose face. I know it's easy to just become hopeless, but now's not the time to do that. And I can tell you here, as the host and executive producer of Real Talk, every Monday with Jersey First TV, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise awareness. We're giving platforms and a voice to Republican and conservative candidates, because we know how hard it is. I remember years ago running for the state assembly all the way up in Hudson County in the 33rd legislative district. If you know where that is, okay, that place is as blue as Windex. I ran as a Republican back in 2011. I don't regret it. It was a great experience, but I knew that my mission was to help conservatives and Republicans be successful in New Jersey. That's what we're doing here at Jersey First. Even though New Jersey First is a nonprofit organization, Jersey First TV is helping to create a platform about fiscal responsibility and making sure New Jersey gets back to, quite frankly, what is written in our Constitution. Not just the American one, but our state Constitution. And today here, during debate night, I'm proud to host and be your moderator this evening. Now, again, as a reminder, we will be obviously asking questions. I'll be asking questions, of the candidates here this evening. We only have one mic tonight, so I will be passing off and on. I do ask you to please put your phones on silent. We are streaming live on Jersey First, so we want to give a good impression of all the good men and women here in the 3rd Congressional District, especially here in the great city of Medford, New Jersey. Now, having said that, I do want to introduce candidates at this time. To my right, running in the 3rd Congressional District here in the Republican primary, Jason Cullen. Republican CD-3 challenger as well, McGuire. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be giving the mic to both candidates for a 2-minute opening statement. We will alternate questions as I'll be asking during the evening. I do ask you to please hold your applause, because the longer applauses go, it kind of disrupts the flow of the debate. So please hold your applause. Really, after the opening statement, I prefer not to hear any applause or noise for the rest of the evening. I know it's a little hard. You have your favorites here. I get it. But folks, we want to make this as smooth and fluid as possible. Please refrain from any noise or applause for the rest of the evening. I appreciate that. Once again, please put your phones on silent or vibrate. Again, make sure you stream the debate, as always, via your social media platforms. But with that, welcome to debate night here in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. Now, having said that, looking at the itinerary here, I'm going to present the mic first to Mr. Michael McGuire. 2-minute opening statement by Mr. McGuire, and I will pass it off to Mr. Cullen for his 2-minute opening statement, and then we'll do alternating questions to both candidates. Everybody ready? I hope everybody understands the rules and what I'm asking for. Appreciate your cooperation. I appreciate your attendance. And let's send a statement here in 2026. And I see a lot of red in the audience. Let's start flipping some districts red in New Jersey. We can do that. All right? It starts tonight. It starts in November. We have to get people out to vote. As I said before, Democrats have a pretty good registration advantage, about 2.1 to about 1.8 million registered voters. There's over 2.3 independent registered voters in New Jersey. It's important to win them over with better ideas, better principles, and a better platform. Let's be honest. Republicans and conservatives have that, but they need to get across the finish line. Let's hope we can do that this year in 2026. With that in mind, let's go to our opening statement. First, Mr. Michael McGuire, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, before I start my opening statement, I want to thank some people. Hopefully that doesn't take up the whole 2 minutes. But most importantly, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Samantha, that has been with me since day one on the campaign trail since we decided to file an FEC report. Obviously, the sacrifice that they make, my children, It could be, well, I guess tonight might be canceled baseball, but at the baseball fields, everywhere else. My other son is here with my beautiful grandson. I'd like to thank the Mercer County Chair for being here, as well as the Hamilton Chair, and also Joe Stilwell, which is part of the Republican, Young Republicans for being here, and everyone else that came and showed up tonight, my in-laws, and also I want to thank the Burlington County Federated Women. I've been in constant contact with Terry this week, and countless, organizational ability that she did to put this together, and also somebody else, I won't mention my name, but helped finance this as well. I want to thank you very much, and I appreciate that. Okay, now to tell you who I am. My name is Michael McGuire, and I'm running for CD-3. A little bit about my background about myself. I am a United States Marine Corps veteran. After that, I served in the NYPD. I got on the job in July of 2001. 3 months later into the job, I was down at ground zero for 9/11. I retired in 2008 after getting hurt in 2006. I went to school, got my MBA in accounting. I got completely bored out of my mind preparing thousands of tax returns and dealing with financial statements. And my wife got sick of hearing me complain, so I went to law school where I wanted to be back into a courtroom like I was as a police officer. So right now I've been practicing law since 2018. I started my career in New Jersey as a lawyer, working directly for a judge down in Ocean County. I did that for a year before opening up my own practice, and now I work for a firm. Why am I here and why am I running? Because I wouldn't be here if, number one, the hypocritical portion of Mr. Herb Conaway, the gerrymandered district that we're in. I used to be represented by Congressman Chris Smith. Now I'm represented by Herb Conaway, so that's why I'm here running to bring conservative values back to CD-3. That's it. It's a minute. I just said thank you, everyone. I apologize. You'll learn more about me through the rest of the night, but thanks.
Thank you, Michael. And now, Jason Cullen.
All right, so first I just want to thank the Burlington County Federated for setting this up. Terry did an awesome job in a short amount of time. Fernando, thank you for volunteering to host this. This is awesome. Michael, I do want to thank you as well for doing this debate. I think it's a great thing for the voters to be able to have the most informed decision possible when they're making their vote on June 2nd. And to you guys, thanks for showing up and being a part of the process. It's really awesome. I appreciate you guys for coming, regardless of which one of us you guys are here to support tonight. So guys, I'm Jason Cullen. I'm a sales executive with 2 decades of experience in sales, marketing, and account management. And in a district full of independents, that's the exact kind of background that we're going to need to close the deal with the voters that we're going to need to flip this district in the district with the best opportunity to flip in the entire state. Now, I know normally this is where a lot of candidates might say, I'm not a politician. I'm running for Congress, so clearly that ship has sailed. I will just say, I'm a concerned father fighting for my children's future. And our children, they're watching us. They're watching everything that's going on today, and they will inherit tomorrow whatever we are willing to accept and tolerate for them today. And when I look at my kids, I refuse to hand off to them a more expensive and weaker America. For decades, career politicians have exploded the national debt, devalued the dollar, they've buried us in regulation and taxes, they've crushed affordability on housing, healthcare, insurance, education, utility, food. They've created an affordability crisis that is robbing the next generation of the American dream. And here's how we're going to fight back. We're going to stop printing money. We're going to cut real spending. We're going to balance the budget. We're going to rip out the red tape that is strangling businesses. We're going to unleash American energy to lower costs. We're going to restore real education focused on skills, not ideology. And we're going to put America first by prioritizing American workers and American priorities. Guys, what I'm fighting for is simple. So our kids can afford a home, build a family, and inherit the same shot of the American dream that we've had. I'm a dad who's had enough. If you're tired of the same failures, stand with me, guys.
All right. All right, thank you, gentlemen. And now we'll proceed to the question portion here. We'll start with Mr. McGuire, and obviously the same question to both of you. 60 seconds to answer. And I'm going to make sure we really keep to this clock here, folks, so I really, really appreciate it. Now, the cost of living in the 3rd Congressional District here in New Jersey continues to outpace wage growth. What specific, actual federal legislation will you champion to lower housing and healthcare costs to our local families in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District? Mr. McGuire, 1 minute.
I know what I'm not gonna do to lower house costs is by putting a national sales tax on the purchase of a home. The average home here in Burlington County, in Medford, is $700,000. My opponent wants to put a national sales tax when you buy a home, which is between 10 and 20%. 10% is the bare minimum. So you're talking about paying a tax of a minimum of $140,000 on a new home if you wanna buy it here under his tax plan. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually cut rates. We're gonna cut rates to a percentage that's a lot lower. We're gonna continue the Trump tax plans that stop taxes on Social Security, that stop taxes on overtime, that stop taxes on tips. So this way, people can spend their money without being taxed on it. My opponent wants to tax your earnings, not tax your income. So when you buy a house for $700,000 right here in Medford, it's gonna cost you a minimum of $140,000 tax to do that. Most people that are in that range are paying 10 to 15% of federal income tax. All of a sudden, you're gonna be paying $140,000 tax on a new home, which is going to drive up the cost of used homes, because people are gonna wanna avoid that tax by buying used homes, and supply and demand is gonna destroy the housing market. That's what's gonna happen under a fair tax plan.
Thank you, Michael. 60 seconds, Jason, same question.
I was hoping not to have to spend 60 seconds correcting everything you said, Michael. We had a conversation on Monday in Freehold Township where I pointed out all the things you said that were inaccurate, and you promised me you were gonna go home and read about the fair tax. The fair tax eliminates the income tax, the real estate tax, and the debt tax, which is the most immoral tax in America. It eliminates every single tax having to do with income. It is replaced with a national sales tax that is not on everyday essentials. It is not on used goods, including existing home purchases. Used cars, it's not included. Even on new construction, it's not included either, because right now there's about 25% hidden tax built in, passed along by the builder. Those taxes are now gone, so it is a wash. The fair tax puts more money in your pocket, actually it puts all of your money in your pocket. You decide what your tax bill is going to be on the purchases that you make. Now, with the remaining time that I have left, we gotta look at the root cause of affordability. Not a lot of people are talking about this in the country, and that is the printing of trillions of dollars out of thin air. The federal government has devalued our currency to the point it's not worth the paper that it's printed.
Yep.
No.
Gave him an extra 20 cents, twice.
Guys, I'll be fair, don't worry, I'm going around.
I heard him say for responding, you mentioned my name, correct?
I did mention that during the outline, so I'll give you 30 seconds to respond. If you're mentioned, I'll give you 30 seconds to respond, 30 seconds.
I did do my research, and since I have an MBA in accounting, I understand taxes very well. As you stated, first of all, as a federal legislator, you cannot eliminate the real estate tax, that's number one. Also, as a federal legislator, you should understand, you said pre-owned homes. So if you buy a new house, I am correct, you're gonna tax that new home here in Medford $140,000. You buy a new car, you're gonna tax that, a $50,000 car, of $15,000. So the people that are paying Social Security and everything else like that are not taxed on it are gonna now be taxed. While billionaires are gonna get a tax break on corporations.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for that one. Guys, I'm doing my best here, man. You know, it's kind of hard being a referee, trust me, I'm doing my best. Let's move on to our next question here. The incumbent is indeed the very symbol of the career politician in New Jersey. What will your message be going forward towards the general election in trying to win over independent voters in New Jersey's 3rd congressional district? Jason, we'll start with you, 60 seconds of response.
So this is actually something that I've been talking about as I'm going around the district. One of the issues I think, or a big opportunity for Republicans, we go around, we're real good at talking about what we're going to do. But I think we gotta get better at talking about the why. Why our ideas are better. Why conservative solutions work better. Why America First is better for everyone. See, the most successful companies in this country, they understand that people don't buy into what you do. They buy into why you're doing it. We need to get our message out there in a way that's not only focused on just the Republicans. We have to understand when we're talking to independents, it's going to take a different approach, because a lot of times we're talking to the choir when we're talking to Republicans. We have to have a different way of speaking to the independent voters out there. And to do that, we really have to show them, because there are a lot of times, look, they talk about affordability. Things are better. I mean, what happened under Joe Biden, things were terrible. We have to acknowledge things are still challenging. So when we just jump right to, hey, things are better because of Trump, which they are, they're just hearing, oh, you're not hearing my problem. You're not hearing my concerns. We need to address it. Yes, you're right, things are still challenging, but we got to explain why. We have to get them to understand the reasons why we have the cost of living here.
Thank you, Jason. Mr. McGuire, same question for you, 60 seconds.
Well, Herb's gonna blame Donald Trump right off the bat, and we need to remind people that Herb is in ground zero of the affordability crisis because he's been in office in New Jersey since 1997 as the legislator. He is the problem. He was around way before President Trump was around in 2016, and he continues to be around, and we need to make sure that he's not around anymore. And we gotta say, this is what he voted for. Number one, he forced your kid to have a jab in 2020. He forced your kid not to go to school. He forced your kid not to do this or do that. That's why I'm proud to have the endorsement of the parental rights group in New Jersey. Also proud today to get the endorsement of the Right for Life too, because he is a left-wing extremist. We need to remind people that he's not law and order. The first comment he made in January on his Facebook account was that ICE are murderers, okay? He doesn't care about this district. He doesn't care about the issues in Mercer County that they have with the Trenton Waterworks. That's a local issue. He is bringing in $800,000 to a non-for-profit hospital so they can turn around and return it in a favor of a donation to him. And that's what people need to see what Herb Conway's about.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for that one. Now, as a reminder, everyone at home, again, if you're just tuning in live, welcome to Debate Night here, coming to you live from Braddock in beautiful Medford, New Jersey. I'm Fernando Uribe, your moderator tonight, and the host, the executive producer of Real Talk every Monday night with Jersey First. If you're just tuning in live, it takes 5 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, helps the algorithm, helps the show and the network grow for Debate Night. Like, comment, and share on all your social media platforms. And once again, welcome to Debate Night here in beautiful Braddock in Medford, New Jersey. Let's continue with some economic issues affecting New Jerseyans everywhere, not just in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District, but throughout the entire state. As the Social Security Trust Fund is projected to face critical funding shortfalls, what is your exact plan to ensure the fund remains solvent without cutting benefits or drastically raising the retirement age? Mr. McGuire, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
Well, the first thing is the Social Security Fund is obviously a Ponzi scheme. They borrow from Peter to pay for Paul, and that's a fact. We cannot cut benefits to people. It's not an entitlement like people believe it is. People paid their hard-earned money into that. I want to privatize the retirement. Means that they're afraid that they're going to have a situation where people can't retire. You obviously can't phase that out right off the bat, Social Security, so you can be able to open up 401k accounts. President Trump just started that with the plans that he started with the newborn children, which is actually a wonderful start on how to do that. And they're funding it by private donors. So the first thing we need to do is start phasing out the Social Security without raising it, and that's a debt that the American people unfortunately are going to have to pay because the Democrats under FDR started that program, and we borrow from it. So that's not funded anyway. It comes from your paycheck every 2 weeks, and it comes from the other employers' half on the payroll taxes every 2 weeks. So we're going to phase it out. The older generation, unfortunately, the baby boomers are going to phase out, and then we're going to replace it with a privatized plan that you can invest your own money into your own 401k, so it's there when you actually retire.
All right, Mr. McGuire, thank you for that. Jason, same question for you, sir, 60 seconds.
So I don't disagree with a lot of that. I would lower the age before we start phasing that out. I like to use the word boomers, but you guys have paid into this, paid into your entire lives. You guys deserve the money. But at some point, because we are facing insolvency, we are going to have to look at changing the age at some point, not changing the age to receive it, where you're going to start having a hybrid system of private and public. But one of the things we need to do immediately to preserve the money there, to make it last longer while we're trying to get into that phase out, first of all, we have to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse in the system. And we have to make sure only people that are supposed to be getting Social Security are getting Social Security. By doing those two things, that's going to extend the life of Social Security, and it's going to give us more time to come up with the right plan to eventually phase it out and replace it.
All right, thank you very much for that. Let's move on here. Now, the Democrat Party continues to weaponize the scare tactics as it pertains to alleged voter suppression. What would you advocate for to alleviate the noise concerning this manufactured outrage by the Democrat Party here, not just in New Jersey's third congressional district, but in the halls of Congress. Jason, 60 seconds.
First things first, we have to stop letting the Democrats control the narrative and control language. Because when they control language, they control how people see reality. So we have to stop being reactive. We have to start being proactive. We have to take charge. We have to lead the story. We have to create the narrative. That's the only way we're going to actually change this. And then we need to call things what they are. So when they call it suppression, we call it what it is. When they say, oh, you're getting rid of black voting districts. No, we're not. We're trying to not have segregated voting districts. We have to call things what they are and stop letting them control the narrative.
All right, nice short answers. I'm liking this so far. All right, very nice. Laura, same question for you, 60 seconds.
The narrative comes from the fake media. And President Trump was actually an absolute genius for the first president to do that, when he took the Truth Social and get his message directly to the voters and the people, 115 million followers that he has, that he gets a direct message. You're going to have the media of CNN, Clinton News Network, and MSNBC, or MS Now, whatever they call it. They're going to spread their lies. But we need to spread our message, and we need to spread it in a positive manner with facts. Because facts matter at the end of the day, and you need to sue the media companies that has been going on, that are favoring the spread even the fake news. That is absolutely unacceptable, and we need to hold them accountable. Eventually, we need to start making sure the media and supporting platforms like this that support Republicans and conservatives that have a platform. We need to start fundraising. We need to have private organizations, non-for-profits, and we need to start controlling the narrative on understanding what affordability is and educating people on the fact that they're calling it a tax increase. Meanwhile, he's giving a tax break for people that are on tips. Not too many people that are rich work for tips, and we lost that narrative.
All right, Mr. McGuire, thank you very much for that. Let's move on to some juicy topics, as they say, during this election season. The leadership within the Democrat Party has been very vocal concerning their opposition to ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Congress would have to pass legislation to dismantle it and repeal its enforcement authority. Where do you stand on ICE, and does it need to be reformed? So, Mr. McGuire, 60 seconds.
I 100% stand with law enforcement as a retired law enforcement officer, and I stand with enforcing the laws that we have. And the Democrats need to understand, if they want to change something, they have the power in Congress to make legislation to change the rules that they've supported all these years, whether it's Chuck Schumer or all the other Democrats out there, including President Biden and Obama, that gave speeches, if you're here illegally, you will leave. My plan would give, number one, we would support immediate deportation for criminal illegal immigrants, meaning criminal as in they committed a crime. We need to work on the supremacy clause, which we have in the United States. As an attorney, I would bring legislation against our governor here in New Jersey and make her enforce the law of the land. It is a lot safer for law enforcement to pick people up at the prisons and the jails. As I was just on a jail call today, and I saw them giving the rights in Spanish today. They're going to hold them there and shield them from ICE. It is a disgrace. Okay, and then we need to enforce it by going after them legally in the way that we can to end sanctuary cities and make the streets safer here in Burlington, Monmouth, and Mercer County.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGuire. Same question for you, Mr. Cullen. 60 seconds.
So unfortunately, because of the chaos at the border for 4 years under Joe Biden, it's more crucial than ever that ICE is in our communities, in our cities, and in our suburbs. We're past the point where there's just folks that shouldn't be here because they crossed over the border. We now have violent, dangerous criminals roaming around our streets, and government's top priority is supposed to be to keep the citizens safe. If I'm your representative, that's going to be one of my top priorities. Herb Conway voted against the bill to keep violent criminals in prison. Okay? That is not in the best interest of the American people, and especially not the constituents of CD-3. So as your representative, what I'm going to make sure, I know you know Mikey Sherrill, and you know the Democrats in the state, they're trying to make sure we're a sanctuary city. I'm going to make sure that ICE is able to be in our district enforcing immigration law, removing violent criminals from our streets, and keeping our families and our children safe.
All right, gentlemen. Now it's getting interesting. All right, I'd like to hear this. Once again, folks, everyone tuning in at home, my name is Federated, tonight's moderator for debate night here in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. If you're just tuning in, takes 5 seconds to show your support for Jersey First TV and, of course, the Burlington County Federated Republican Women hosting tonight's debate night here from the beautiful Braddocks in Medford, New Jersey, all the way here in Burlington County. Again, folks, it takes 5 seconds to like, comment, and share. It really helps not just Jersey First TV grow, but it really helps get the word out about the importance of debate night here in the 3rd Congressional District. Let's continue. The Democrat Party seems optimistic of scoring a majority this November. But the incumbent in the 3rd Congressional District is indeed the most vulnerable of the 9 Democrats currently in New Jersey's House delegation. What's the biggest flaw you can expose of the incumbent going towards the general election? You could probably take 60 minutes and not get enough, but for this one, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. We'll start with Mr. Cullen. 2 minutes.
So just as Fernando said, this district truly does have the best opportunity in the state to be flipped. Guys, it doesn't matter that we're a D+5 district. We have more independent voters in this district than we have Democrats. Herb Conway, the weakest, lowest funded Democrat running in the entire state of New Jersey. Guys, he is in his 1st term. That is when we can knock these guys out. The biggest thing we can take away from this guy, he's actually running on affordability. A guy who's been in this state's legislature for 3 decades, doing everything in his power to make our lives as expensive as possible. He's not passed one bill or one vote to lower taxes in New Jersey, lower government spending, shrink the size of government, reduce regulations on small businesses. To your point, we can go on for 60 minutes with this. This is the layup, guys, in this district. We are the lucky ones here. If there's any district that can get flipped, it is CD-3 because we got Herb Conway, and like I said, the weakest, lowest funded Democrat running in New Jersey.
All right. Same question for you, Mr. McGuire. 2 minutes.
Well, let's look at the map right here in Burlington County. Burlington County has the largest employer in the state right in McGuire and Jason Air Force Base. Okay, there are tens of thousands of families that are veterans, civilian workers, contractors, and members that depend on that base. He shut them down. Okay, I am one of them. I serve in uniform just like them. I am on that base constantly when I volunteer my time there with the Marines on MAG 49. I'll give them a shout out, hoorah. You know, and we can reach those voters. We can tell them to make sure that they register to vote in November, so Herb Conway has to listen to you. A lot of them I know personally firsthand. When I was in Yuma, Arizona, I was sending in an absentee ballot to New York, wasting my vote. Okay, and the congressman there could care less what I had to say. Well, Congressman Herb Conway, we're going to register a lot of military people because the only time you've been on that base, sir, is when you were protesting the fact that they wanted to house the illegal immigrants before they deported them. You never visited them on Thanksgiving, the holidays, or anything else. You visited them to go and push your agenda to pro-illegal immigration, and that is unacceptable, sir. This is the largest employer, and you shut them down 2 months before Christmas. And we're going to let everyone understand and remember that he did that. And it is the largest employer. They sent home non-essential workers. They sent home my fellow reservists for 2 months without pay. It delayed bonuses for 10 to 12 months now at this point. Bonuses are still delayed for military members that put their life on the line because of his shutdown antics right here in Burlington County. People had to take out loans. Coast Guard still going on without pay. Absolutely unacceptable, and we're going to remind him of his left-wing agenda. It's not CD-3's agenda. We need to make sure that we are CD-3 first. We need to make sure that we support the strong businesses around here that he has not done.
All right, Mr. McGuire, thank you so much. Now we're coming to a unique part of the debate here tonight, and again, for everyone at home, thank you for joining us. It is debate night here in the 3rd Congressional District, coming to you live from the beautiful Braddocks in Medford, New Jersey. On behalf of Jersey First TV and the Burlington County Federated Republican Women, we bring debate night. Please like, comment, and share tonight's debate here on all of your social media platforms. It really helps the show grow and helps show support for candidates during this election cycle. Now, both campaigns submitted a question to me that I approved of and make sure that I was okay with, that they would ask each other of. Now, the Candidates submitted questions to me, I approve them, I'll ask the question to each candidate as it was submitted to me. Now, I'll start with Mr. Cullen. This was Mr. McGuire's question to you. I'm going to read it verbatim as it was emailed to me. Mr. McGuire is asking, quote, "You call yourself a Republican today, yet in 2022, you chose to run against Congressman Chris Smith as a Libertarian candidate, despite Congressman Smith being one of the most conservative Republican members of the House of Representatives and a strong supporter of President Trump, veterans, and law enforcement. At the time, you did not even live in the congressional district you were running in. Running against an incumbent Republican for Congress is a major decision, not a minor disagreement. So the question is this: what fundamental disagreements did you have with Congressman Smith and the Republican Party in 2022? And why should Republican primary voters believe those beliefs suddenly changed now?" You have 2 minutes to respond to Mr. McGuire.
All right. So the first thing I want to do is, first of all, I want to make sure everybody knows that I've been a registered Republican since 1998. I want to take us back to 2009, where my whole journey started. So I've done a lot of work inside the party, and I've done some work outside the party. I was part of the wave of the original Tea Party candidates in 2009. And I spent years working, sometimes inside, sometimes outside, moving the Republican Party to be more fiscally conservative, more fiscally responsible, more focused on the Constitution and individual freedom. I think that's a good thing. When I ran against Chris Smith, first of all, when I announced, that was before the redistricting, so I did live in the district. Yes, I did.
Sorry.
No, when I announced, it was prior to the redistricting. Not that you have to live in the district in New Jersey, but that was the case, okay? Now, when I ran against Chris Smith, let's recall back to when Donald Trump at the time, who did not have the best relationship with him at that time, he called out to patriots in the country to challenge Chris Smith. Part of what I was thinking about doing, like I said, when I did the Tea Party, was helping to push to be more conservative. Because at the time, a lot of his votes weren't following with President Trump. That's why he asked people to stand up and challenge him. So I stood up for what the president asked for. But Michael, here's the thing. The seats don't belong to the politicians. I know you made a comment on Monday night in Freehold that you would never challenge a Republican. You would never primary another Republican. But the seat doesn't belong to the Republican occupying that seat. It belongs to the people. If you win or if I win, anyone has the right to challenge our seat, whether it's third party or whether it's in a Republican primary. And you know what? We should be primary. And if I'm doing a good job, I'll get reelected. If I'm doing a bad job, they should vote me the heck out of there.
Guys, please. Okay, now the question for Mr. McGuire submitted by the Cullen campaign. I'll give you 2 minutes, Mr. McGuire. And again, please allow the candidates to answer. No interrupt. Let's let the candidates answer the questions without interruption, please. Mr. McGuire, the Cullen campaign emailed me and asked me to ask you this. Michael, recently at an event, when I discussed eliminating the income tax, your response was very pro-big government, big spending, and high taxes. You said we can now eliminate the income tax because we wouldn't be able to fund the government at current levels. Well, Michael, that is the whole point as conservatives, that we're supposed to want to cut the size of government, cut taxes, and cut spending. So my question to you is, how do you square that response of being a conservative? Mr. McGuire, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Because I'm a realistic. We're gonna go from tax rates to zero and replace it with a national sales tax. That is a libertarian policy. I am a Republican conservative. I am going to cut tax rates, just like we started doing. We're gonna give credits to businesses to reinvest into the community, to reinvest in hiring. We are gonna support our small businesses. We're certainly not gonna tax goods, so small businesses have to increase the prices and nobody can afford to buy things in our community. If we tax the goods, that people are going to not buy new things, therefore our communities and businesses in town are gonna have a major problem. They're not gonna be able to sell items because people are gonna have underground garage sales and everything else, which is a fact, and they're gonna avoid taxes by selling things secondhand on eBay, and it's gonna put our storefronts out of business. That's what's gonna happen when you have a national sales tax. okay? I'm gonna cut the tax rates. I'm gonna give corporate taxes, you know, the big bad corporations that are out in town, they're called LLCs, limited liability companies, okay? Those are corporations that the Democrats point on that are big bad. Meanwhile, they employ 8 people out in town and they're a mom and pop shop. Those are corporations for sheltering purposes and liabilities. So we're gonna be a champion of small businesses that's gonna reinvest in here. Just like a business like this in this town is gonna thrive on cutting their businesses. We are going to give credits for hiring new people. We're gonna make sure we reinvest into the communities that we're in. We're not gonna damage them by charging a sales tax when you go out to dinner. And everyone knows you already pay a tax in New Jersey when you go out to dinner. Now we're gonna add another sales tax on top of that. These places are gonna shut down. People aren't gonna be able to have prepared food. We are gonna champion small businesses, which is gonna hire people and it's gonna grow wages, and we're gonna cut the tax rates from 90% of the people in the United States don't pay taxes. That is a fact.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for that. And certainly, I think that was a healthy exchange between the candidates and their campaigns with questions. Everyone at home, once again, welcome to debate night here at Braddock's in beautiful Medford, New Jersey, right in the heart of Burlington County. My name is Fernando Uribe, tonight's moderator for debate night here in the 3rd Congressional District. It's 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast, live here from Braddock's. It's a nice toasty night here in Burlington County. We'll take a 5-minute intermission, get some water, bathroom break for everybody, get some fresh air, and we'll resume in 5 minutes here on debate night. For everyone standing, just please exit away from the camera, exit towards here, to your left, to your right, and we'll return in 5 minutes, folks, at 7:30 on the East Coast. We'll resume at 7:35 here. Get some water, please go to the bathroom, stay right where you are, folks. Debate night continues in 5 minutes after a brief intermission.
I'm always cold. I brought a jacket. Not needed. Yeah.
Former congressman is not in 2022, they went to new district. He is probably the most conservative Republican.
Shout out to the great staff here at Braddock. Thank you. Appreciate it. Water. Please once again, everybody, of the honor. Please once again, thank you. please take your seats. Everybody, please take your seats. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please watch the camera here in the middle. Thank you. Again, guys, please take your seats. Please watch the camera there in the middle. Thank you very much. All right, once again, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone at home tuning in live on Jersey First TV, welcome to debate night here in beautiful Braddock, in the heart of Burlington County in Medford, New Jersey. On behalf of Jersey First TV and the Burlington County Federated Republican Women, we bring you debate night in the 3rd Congressional District. We have a very lively first half. We'll continue now with the second half of questions here between Mr. Michael McGuire and Mr. Jason Cullen, the Republican primary challengers, coming up on June 2nd. Early voting begins this weekend and certainly polls open on Election Day, June 2nd, at 8 a.m. and 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Make sure you register. If you're not registered to vote, hopefully you are. Make sure you come out to vote this weekend and make your voices heard in the Republican primary in the 3rd Congressional District. Once again, it takes 5 seconds to do so. Like, comment, and share on your social media platforms and support Jersey First TV, the leader of independent media here in the Garden State. We're streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and also on YouTube. I'm sure you're on all 3 of those platforms. You share every day. Share one more thing. Share debate night here in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. As we continue with debate night here from Braddock, live in Medford, New Jersey. Now, the U.S. remains heavily divided on the issue of reproductive rights, energy policy, and immigration. If a federal consensus cannot be reached, do you believe these are the issues that are better handled at the state and local level? So, Brian, we'll start with you. 1 minute.
Well, the Supreme Court made the 10th Amendment very clear when they overturned Roe v. Wade and made Dobbs the issue of the state. Unfortunately, we live in a crazy left-wing state that will commit murder all the way up until the time of the birth of the baby. I was just endorsed, as I stated earlier, for New Jersey's Right for Life, and I am 100% unapologetic pro-life. I believe in life starts at conception, and the first moment I noticed that is when my son over there in December of 2000, when he was born, and I first saw him and held him in my arms. That was very clear that unless we interceded, he would be born. Therefore, conception starts immediately when life starts. It starts at conception. And there's one way that we can handle that in the legislature. We need to turn our districts red. We need to start doing a better job of showing people and educating people where life starts. And we need to advocate for it. We need to be unapologetic about it and not worry about political consequences and not tipping toe around it. We need to make sure that people have options in education, that there's plenty of people. Like, for instance, my wife's brother is a recipient of being adopted in the family. Okay, so he was adopted, they had that option there, and he's there thriving at 30-something years old instead of being aborted. And the waiting list for adoption is disgusting on how long it took, and people are willing to just murder babies. So we need to make sure that we educate people and show them that there's plenty of options and plenty of families that are willing to give people a good life.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Same question, Mr. Cullen. 60 seconds.
So first I want to say that I've been pro-life since conception, right? So listen, I do agree with what Michael was saying as far as the education out there, trying to give them reasons to want to keep the baby. We need to have an informed electorate out there that understands about life. I think we need a law it's about being informed. A law that would require an ultrasound prior to an abortion. If the left is truly pro-choice, well then let's give women an informed choice. Right? Now, at the end of the day, I do think that the Supreme Court did make the right decision sending it back to the states. I'm a big 10th Amendment guy. In fact, I think we need to dramatically shrink the size, scope, and power of the federal government. We need to return a lot of what the federal government does back to the states.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, on that one. Let's continue. Now, there's a manufactured hysteria by the Democrat Party about the erosion of democracy and the supposed rise of fascism. What can you assure voters in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District about your commitment and responsibilities as it pertains to upholding our Constitution? Mr. Cullen, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
I think the most important thing we could do is give a history book to the left. So they can actually read and learn what fascism actually is. Okay? Fascism, socialism, and communism are all on the left, just to different degrees. Again, this is about them controlling the language so they can control how we see reality. This is another example of us getting ahead of that. We have to be proactive. We have to call things what they are. We can no longer let the left control the language on any issue, or we're going to keep running into these problems.
Mr. McGuire, for you, same question.
Obviously, one of the biggest advocates we lost in September of 2025, Charlie Kirk. He's the one that opened up conversations in college campuses. He's the one that showed that we are not fascists. We are people of principles and ideas. We need to support and we need to absolutely push our young Republicans to have those conversations in college campuses where the indoctrination starts, because that's where it starts. It also starts even at a younger level with that. And that's why we need to promote school boards in our local communities and make sure that we have the right people on the school boards. Make sure that we don't have people indoctrinating our children, which they need to be educated. We need to absolutely celebrate Charlie Kirk with having a Charlie Kirk Day and it was a wonderful thing that they did this past weekend on having that on the great mall down in Washington, D.C. Start bringing religion back into our country. We need to absolutely show them that we are the party of peace. We are the party that can talk and have conversations, while they're the parties that shut things down. They're the parties that don't want you to be heard. Everyone should have a platform, whether we agree with it or not, and that's how we show that we're a country of freedom fighters. That's exactly where we need to be.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for that. Let's continue on here. And once again, for everyone tuning in at home, if you haven't done so already, welcome to Debate Night here, coming to you live from Braddock's in Medford, New Jersey, for Debate Night in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District during this year's Republican primary between Jason Cullen and Michael McGuire. Once again, folks, like, comment, share the content. Brought to you by Jersey First TV. Of course, we're proud to partner with the Burlington County Federated Republican Women here for Debate Night in 2026. Let's continue. Now, the alliance between the United States and Israel has generated considerable debate during this election season. Should you be in the House of Representatives, where is your comfort level on supporting Israel at this time? So, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
I am a 100% unapologetic pro-Israel supporter. Okay, there's many different reasons for that. I served in the United States Marine Corps on a logistics standpoint. We need that area in the Middle East. The Middle East is a very unstable area. We have reasons that we need to be over there and have a safe landing spot for our troops. That's number one. Number two, my wife is Jewish. The first thing that I learned as soon as I married her, when I met my mother-in-law, is, by the way, your children are going to be Jewish as well. I saw right off the bat what it was going on at Columbia University and everywhere else, the anti-Semitism that has gone on, and I worry about my children's future of going to a college just because they have a label of Judaism behind them, of the hate that goes on in this world for the Jewish people. That's number two. Number three, when it comes to Iran and Israel, we do not know. We are not privy to intel reports. I served on 9/11. If you told me 6 months prior to 9/11 at Ground Zero that I could have went to Afghanistan and took out Osama bin Laden based on an intelligence report and avoided 9/11, I would have went and invaded that country in a heartbeat to save the thousands upon thousands of lives that we still lose from 9/11 related illnesses. And I would need to see the intel report on how close Iran actually is to a nuclear weapon. But I do support my commander-in-chief, and I do believe he is in there for the right reasons when it's an election year, in the midterm, and he knows it has political consequences. That is real leadership.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Ms. Cullen, 60 seconds for you.
So I do agree with one thing here, that President Trump is going to have information that I'm not going to have, that Michael's not going to have. So it's hard to make that judgment right off the bat. But I'm going to support him in his decision. I'm going to support our troops. Israel is an ally of ours. And if they're going to be attacked, we absolutely should defend any of our allies. But I do love the fact that Donald Trump is building coalitions in the Middle East that can help ease that burden on us with being the sole country helping out Israel.
Thank you, gentlemen. Guys, again, please. We'll continue on here with the foreign policy flavor here. Now, the current conflict in Iran is seen by some as completely avoidable when there are other issues to focus on here in the home. Should we continue funding this conflict? And should we continue providing financial and tactical assistance to Israel? Mr. Cullen, give you seconds.
So I know some people know my issue with just foreign aid in general and sending money overseas to other countries. I am okay with giving money overseas for short-term objectives that we need to handle. That I'm okay with. But we need to do it quickly. We gotta make sure, just like President Trump said, no more forever wars. So as long as we're going in there and we're gonna get this job done fast, then I fully support that.
Same question, 60 seconds.
You know, it's so funny, the people that say that we shouldn't fund the Iran war were up in arms when we weren't funding Ukraine. So the hypocrisy there is absolutely astonishing that goes on in this country simply because of party lines. As I stated before, it's absolutely necessary to have the intel to make sure that it's America first. America first doesn't mean that we need to spend the money here. America first means to make sure my kids have a future because they don't build a nuclear weapon over there. And we're not just saying don't. And we're not sending over a pallet full of money overnight to Iran to come up with a deal that we know that they're not going to go with. Okay, we shut down the strait. The rhetoric that's coming out of the left that Iran controls the strait is absolutely absurd. They're losing $500 million a day in revenue in trying to push their oil. At this point, we need to push forward, get the job done, and make the regime in there collapse internally by putting financial pressure in them so they don't kill 30,000 of their own people. I mean, I believe that we need to look back in history, and if we certainly could have stopped, you know, Adolf Hitler from slaughtering his own people, all of us would agree to spend a few extra bucks on gas.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, on that. Let's continue here. It seems that simply hating President Trump has galvanized Democrat voters to come out strongly, as they did during last year's governor's race, and this year during a special election in New Jersey's 11th congressional district. Are you confident that you can swing voters back to the middle on such a polarizing issue? Mr. McGuire, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
You need to speak to voters directly because all they hear is from the fake news, and they hear positions that they say, oh, well, Trump said it, so I'm against it. I saw an interesting thing that Jesse Waters does with that guy, John. He puts someone on the street, he gives him a quote, and he goes like this, President Trump said this. How does that sound to you? And they're like, oh my God, he's such a Nazi. And then they say, oh, that was actually President Obama that said that. You know, so that's something we need to open up the voters and the Democrat voters. And also, not for nothing, they've been voting Democrat here, at least in the U.S. Senate, since 1972. And we are one of the most unaffordable states. We need to show them facts. We need to start showing them that we can do better on the pocketbook. We need to understand on how to do that by real relief to the voters here in the district. And that needs to start by showing how the tax plan actually did more on refunds than it did not. And show that while you're at this restaurant, and if you go here to eat afterwards, let that waitress know, you know, if it was up to Herb Conaway, he's gonna tax you on the tip I'm gonna give you. And you know what? You have to work harder because it's unaffordable here, and he would tax you on the overtime as well. And then let the older people know, Herb Conaway wants to tax you on your Social Security. You have to let them know of the facts and not let them, you know, control the narrative. That's the most important thing.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Mr. Cullen, same question for you, 60 seconds.
So we absolutely have to cut through the noise of the media. We have to cut through the noise of all these influencers on social media, and especially of the Democrats. And again, it's about controlling the narrative. I know I keep coming back to that, but like I said before, that's what's going to help us get over a lot of these hurdles with the left and getting those independent voters by really going out there and explaining what things truly are. Now, when I went and sat down with the White House in December to talk about this race, one of the things we talked about what we're going to be doing come the general election, having a unified message of all candidates across the country, pulling out a list right out of your pocket, all the accomplishments of Donald Trump. Make sure we're letting people know, we're reminding them of all the great things that he's done, whether it's the big, beautiful bill, the tax cuts, getting rid of inflation. People are, the average person is not fully aware of everything that Donald Trump's done over these last 2 years. They're really not. Some people don't care about politics. Some people, they're just so busy with their lives. They got 2 jobs, they have kids in travel sports. So we gotta be the ones, that the media's not gonna do it for us. So we have to be the ones to go out there and communicate to the people and let them know what Donald Trump and what the Republicans have been doing for them.
Thank you, gentlemen, on that. Let's continue here, keeping it within GOP circles. The Republican Party in New Jersey is indeed at a crossroads, and it's still trying to find its identity after some serious losses. We're here today to energize voters in not just New Jersey's 3rd congressional district, but Republicans everywhere, that it's not hopeless here in the Garden State. Mr. Cullen, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
I think the key is something that I talk about a lot. The next generation, people's children, their grandchildren. If there's anything anybody's gonna fight for, it's their kids. So we need to keep getting out there and talk about what's gonna happen to their children, to our family, to the next generation if we lose the House. And then God forbid we lose the White House 2 years later. That I think is the key thing. That's how we're gonna fire people up. We need to be positive. We can't just be with the negative about it. We gotta talk about all the things that we're gonna do for their family, the things that we're gonna do to make sure that their children have a bright future, that their children are gonna have access to the American dream that we had. That's the key to firing these guys up.
Okay. This is right for you, 60 seconds.
You know what's gonna fire people up? Winning's gonna fire people up. And when I flip this seat in November, that's what's gonna fire people up. And that's gonna give people hope. We had a new state chair that was just elected in January. First thing that she did, she's planning on purging the voter rolls, and there's been litigation that has gone on about that. Also, the 250 gala that was hosted by Christine Hanlon and bringing in the vice chair of the National Party, that fires people up. That room was sold out. That brought in a tremendous amount of money into this party. I know some people, and we need to stop the infighting about the party too. You lost an election, you get over it, and you move on. And then you support the candidate you lost. And I can promise you this, I will support Jason Cullen if I lose. I don't see that happening, but I will support him. We had a fractured party last year because we had a governor's election that for one candidate couldn't support the other, all the way even through the general election, which was a terrible thing for this party, and it needs to stop. Regardless of what you think of me, come June 3rd, I expect your support when I win the nomination. And if I lose, I expect to support Jason Cullen. And that's how we are going to win, because when we win, it pumps up the base, it brings in money, and it absolutely gets the party rolling. So I expect everyone here on June 3rd to stand united with me or Jason Cullen or Justin Barbera on June 3rd.
All right, 30 seconds.
Now, I just want to agree with something that Michael said. Winning in November is the most important thing, okay? If I lose on June 3rd, I'm not gonna wake up on, June 2nd, I'm not gonna wake up on June 3rd and throw my principles out the window and say, hey, now I want a Democrat representative. So if I do lose, I want everybody to know I will be supporting this guy as well, because winning in November, that is what's important.
Thank you. All right, good stuff, gentlemen, good to hear that. Let's move on here. Should you be elected to the House of Representatives, what do you want to focus on concerning the federal budget? And how confident do you feel you can get your colleagues on board with some of your proposals? So McGuire, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
We gotta go back to the 1990s to get a balanced budget down in Washington, D.C. We can't be spending more money and printing more money than we're bringing in. That's a fact. Last time we had a balanced budget, I think it was unfortunately during the Clinton administration, if I remember correctly. Okay, he learned, he was very far left in the beginning, he realized he had to come across party lines after they impeached him and work with the Republicans at that point. We need a balanced budget. We need to start cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think at this point, if we don't have a balanced budget, we gotta almost do what the senators did with the government shutdown. We don't get paid in Congress if we don't have a balanced budget, we're not doing our job. We need to introduce legislation, and we need to push and ask, tell them, hey, if you can't balance the budget, you can't do your job, you shouldn't get paid. It's the same idea down that they just did in the Senate with the shutdown. Therefore, you put pressure on people during election time. You say, hey, will you skip your pay if you can't do your job? I know in the real world here, if I don't do my job, I don't get paid. So the budget is the number one thing. Then we need to pass laws to make sure we deal with the waste, fraud, and abuse. And I know Vice President Vance has started a big initiative on that, and we are on our way, on the track, but we need Congress to make legislation, and we need to make penalties for it to be implemented.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Same question for you, Mr. Cullen, 60 seconds.
There's a few things, but the number one thing is the printing of money. Printing trillions of dollars out of thin air, making the dollars in your bank accounts worth nothing. Over the last 5 years, we had the biggest decrease in the value of the dollar in US history. In 2021, $100, today's $80. That's causing a lot of trouble. That's what's robbing our kids of the future. That's why they're not gonna be able to afford a house and build a family. And I say over the past 5 years, that's because of Biden. In those 4 years, half of all of the currency in circulation at that time was printed in those 4 years. Imagine what that did to the value of the money in your wallet. The other thing we need to do, when I say cut spending, I mean cut real spending. Because here's what these guys do down in Washington. They'll propose $100 million in spending, they do their little dance, it ends up being $80 million. They'll call that a cut. We cut $20 million. No, you increase spending $80 million. That type of cutting at home, would it work? It's not gonna work in Washington. And the last thing we need to do, we have to reinstate DOGE. We have to get the waste, the fraud, the abuse, and we have to shrink this government down to what the founding fathers intended. It's that, or we go broke.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen. Let's continue on here. By the way, folks, if you're just tuning in live here, welcome to debate night in the 3rd Congressional District here in our great growing state of New Jersey. My name is Fernando Uribe, your moderator tonight for debate night here at the beautiful Braddocks in Medford, New Jersey. Takes 5 seconds, like, comment, and share tonight's debate night on all of your social media platforms, on Facebook, X, or YouTube. It really helps support Jersey First TV. We'll thank the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for helping me host this event tonight here in Medford, New Jersey. Let's continue on. What are your plans to protect Medicaid programs and services that many people with disabilities and their families rely on for health care, long-term care, and other critical services? Mr. Cullen, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
So this is another critical area that we can't cut. There's a lot of other things we can cut that the government shouldn't be spending on. But this is up there just with Social Security. And there's gonna be a lot of the same cures there as well. Getting rid of the fraud, making sure only that people that are supposed to be getting that help are getting that help. And one of the big ways to do that is with immigration. We have to get the people out of here who aren't supposed to be here because they are getting those benefits. That's the big thing. In fact, with illegal immigration, that in fact impacted us on affordability, right? You got 20 million people coming into this country. Gee, I wonder why housing went up so much. Hospital bills went up, well, maybe because we're paying for hospital bills for 20 million people. A lot of our problems can be solved by removing the folks who shouldn't be here. Because benefits for Americans should only be for American citizens. US tax dollars should only be spent on US citizens. We get rid of the waste, the fraud, and the abuse, we can extend the life of these programs for a long time to come.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cullen. Mr. McGuire, same question for you, sir, 60 seconds.
Well, first we need to understand the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. Medicare is not an entitlement program. Everyone's been paying into it. Half your employer has been paying into it. Medicaid is a benefit program. It means you put nothing into it and you receive back from it. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to verify people that they're in the proper position to even receive Medicaid. We need to see why they're driving Porsches or limos and other things and yet collecting Medicaid and benefits, okay? We need to control the fraud first. We need to understand that when people go into Medicaid, did they do it on their own or did they do it because they just fell on hard times? And we're Americans, of course, we can help people that fall on hard times, but I certainly don't think that people that can afford an $1,100 cell phone or could afford, eating lobster dinners or other things that they're doing can actually pay for their health insurance. So Medicaid is for people that can't afford the health insurance and can't afford their care. Where Medicare is the entitlement that you put into. So we need to cut the fraud first out of the Medicaid portion of it. We need to, and I agree with the illegal immigration part. That's obviously a string, just like anything else, it's a supply and demand string. You have less demand on it, it boosts the supply, And the other biggest thing for healthcare is we need to get rid of the artificial barriers around the state which drive the costs up. I need to be able to shop in California. I need the New Jersey State Police Department to be able to share with the NYPD in their health insurance, because there's no reason cops should be paying $1,200 every other week for health insurance. We need to get rid of the artificial barriers and start promoting pro-business.
All right, thank you for that. Let's continue on here. How will you address, as a member of the House of Representatives, the critical shortage of paid and unpaid caregivers for residents with disabilities? Mr. McGuire, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
Paid and unpaid?
Yes.
So everything begins, so we have a student loan problem here, so I'll bring back to that, and we don't have vocational schools. We need to start pushing things that we do, home health aides. We can start pushing, caregivers, and start having that in our vocational programs, and push that through the BOCES program, and promote the industry itself. And then we can have, a relief on, you have more people in the field, it will drive down the cost a little bit, and you have the availability. It's obviously an availability issue. I believe that the private industry have the insurance companies that don't want to pay for certain things, be required. It should be a decision by the doctor if somebody gets home health aid and home health care, not a decision by the bureaucracy of the health insurance companies that cut those benefits and make sure that they get a fair wage, so you can have people go into those industries and show them, hey, you don't need $300,000 of student loan debt to go into an industry that you can help people with. We can promote, the nursing programs, while they go into school, to make sure that they can do some hands-on training and be able to assist people that need that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cullen, 60 seconds for you, same question.
So I agree, we need to promote and incentivize people to go into the field. And there's actually money available to actually fund some of this without raising $1 in taxes. I mean, we can talk about fraud because it is a hot button issue. When the fraud first broke out in Minnesota, and when it only was at $9 billion, I was just curious, what could we do if we just had an extra $9 billion? So I was curious, how long could we house and take care of every single homeless veteran in this country for $9 billion? 14 and a half years, okay? And that's just $9 billion out of Minnesota. Then I also look at foreign aid. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm okay with it to achieve a short-term objective. But the days of writing blank checks to every country on this planet, while we have people here that are struggling, they're having trouble to put the food on the table. New Jersey, they're scared to touch the thermostat because of our electric bills. I want to keep that money here to help Americans, help American workers, and we can fund projects like this, so we can really get America working again.
Thank you, gentlemen, on that one. For everyone at home, once again, welcome to debate night here at the beautiful Braddock in Medford, New Jersey. My name is Fernando Uribe, your moderator, as well as the host and executive producer of Real Talk with Jersey First TV. On behalf of Jersey First, also, I want to thank the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for helping me host debate night here at Braddock in beautiful Medford, New Jersey, right in the heart of Burlington County. It's 5 minutes past the hour here, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. We'll be wrapping up shortly again. Time goes quickly. Here on debate night, we'll be wrapping up shortly here with our candidates, Michael McGuire and Jason Cullen, going for the Republican primary coming up on June 2nd here in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. Now let's light it up just a little bit, real quick, since both of you have been on my program. I'm asking a very simple question. Mr. Cullen, we'll start with you, 60 seconds. Your favorite American president and why?
This may come as a surprise. Not many people will pick this president, but Calvin Coolidge. He left us alone. And that's what we want the government to do. Because the American people left alone will thrive. And that's what we need to get back to again. Having this over-powerful government over every single aspect of our lives, trying to make every decision in our lives, control every movement that we make, needs to stop. So, the guy who did nothing, that's my favorite guy.
It has to be number 16, Abraham Lincoln. I mean, he put our country back together and made sure we had a country. He made sure he worried about what's going to happen after the Civil War and make sure that we had a country that was going to gonna be able to stand the test of time. And he went through the most difficult process. He gave the ultimate sacrifice for that. He's a true patriot that restored this country in an issue which was basically, it was around slavery, but it was a 10th Amendment issue about states' rights and issues like that. And he said, one day we are gonna have to, unite this country, and we're gonna have a compromise or whatever it is. And he knew that the only way to have a future was compromising. So that's where we need to go here. We know we're not gonna get rid of the Democrats. We know we need to reach across the aisle. We know we need to have somebody in charge that can do that. And I know I'm the person that can do that, considering I mediated the nastiest divorces you'll ever see, and people didn't think they'd ever agree on something, and we can come into a room in a mediation and settle things at the end of the day. And that's exactly what we need to do down in Washington, is mediate in Congress. Take the example of President Lincoln every single day, and make sure that we have a nation that's going to be strong for another 250 years. And celebrate, and this way my great-great-grandkids can celebrate the 500th anniversary in 250 years from now.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. Appreciate it. Now, in Washington, the Democrat Party has been able to weaponize the same playbook during election seasons, especially even here in New Jersey. What's the best comeback when talking to potential voters on the campaign trail that simply belong to the vote blue, no matter who crowd? Mr. McGuire, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
Well, as I said, we're the number one, we're the highest tax district in the country. You've been voting blue forever. How's it working out for you? Maybe you should try something different. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the pure definition of insanity. And that's exactly what's been going on here in the Senate race since 1972. And that's what's been going on in CD-3 since 2018. We're going to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result? I don't think we are. I think we're just going to pay the highest taxes in the nation. Our real estate taxes are going to keep going up, and we're going to feel the squeeze. Look at the Democrats. They're talking about the gas, yet everyone seems to forget they just raised the gas tax on January 1st. And then they blame it on Chris Christie. Okay, he's been out of office a long time. You can do legislation since then to take care of that problem. Okay, so we need to show them that if we change our ways, we can lower the cost and we can move forward in New Jersey and have growth. We have one of the most beautiful coastlines in New Jersey here. Why can't we have a system like Florida does? Why can't we have people moving in droves to Florida? I mean, not for nothing, it's a little better than 98 degrees. I mean, now it's hot here, but in Florida, who wants to move down there every single day in this type of weather for months upon months when you could be sitting on the Jersey Shore here? And we need to bring people back, and we need to bring Republicans back into this state by making it more affordable.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, same question, 60 seconds.
So we witnessed something amazing happen last year in the governor's race that I never would have believed. The Democrats won on affordability. Okay? They've been in control of this state's legislature for a quarter of a century. They are responsible for every economic hardship that we have. When the Democrat voters come out and they say vote blue no matter who, then they disappear for 4 years. They don't pay attention. They have no idea what's going on in this state. They don't understand the correlation between how they voted and what's happening in their pocket. We need voter education. Voter sign up is great, get them registered, but we need educated voters out there. That's what we do. We have these voter registration drives. I think we need to have voter education drives across the state, getting people to really understand what the Democrat policies are. They complain about Donald Trump. He's not the president of New Jersey. All right? Education, education, education.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that. Next question here, and an important one. Should you be the next member of the House of Representatives in the 3rd Congressional District, what will you do to expand access to affordable, accessible housing for low-income residents in NJCD3 for people with disabilities? Mr. Cullen, we'll start with you, 60 seconds.
So I'm going to go back to the language again, because I think this is looked at in the wrong way. It's not about affordable housing, because affordable housing, when the Democrats are talking, that's taxpayer-funded housing. We need to lower the cost of living. Why don't we try that? Okay? We lower the cost of living, people will be able to afford homes. And this goes back to what we've been talking about the whole night. Destroying the value of the dollar, the reckless spending in Washington. They've put our children's future, they've mortgaged our children's future. We need to get back to the basics, We need to shrink government, we need to cut real spending, we have to stop the printing, and we have to get back to the basics. We have to lower the cost of living.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen. Some questions to you, Mr. McGuire, 60 seconds.
Well, for affordable housing, we certainly can't tax it anymore on the federal level, that's a fact. What we need to do is give credits out. There was one time something called a HOPE credit, okay, which gave a nice credit for home buyers that, on their tax return, that gave refunds of tens of thousands of dollars when you bought a house. It was what they call a returnable credit. It was the fact that even if you didn't have a tax liability, a refundable credit, you were able to get that money back and help with your down payment. It was processed over a few years, and that was a wonderful program. We need to incentivize people through our tax programs, not punish them. And that's exactly what everything is doing. You want to buy something, he wants to punish you. You want to buy something and enter into the state, we want to provide a nice, wonderful benefit, because we know you're going to take that money and you're going to re-spend it inside the community, and you're going to spend it better than the government's going to spend it. And then we're going to incentivize home affordability by giving credits for first-time home buyers, and also credits to go against the enormous taxes that you pay at closing costs to incentivize it. And that will also help by putting houses on the market as well and freeing up inventory.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to debate night here in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District, as Michael McGuire and Jason Cullen are the Republican candidates in the upcoming June 2nd primary. Early voting begins this weekend, and shortly polls open on Tuesday, June 2nd at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Make sure your voices are heard in New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District during this year's Republican primary. We're about to wrap up here with our final question of the evening, and then we'll have our closing statements by the candidates. If you haven't done so already, like, comment, and share tonight's debate here coming to you live from the beautiful Braddocks in Medford, New Jersey, in the heart of Burlington County. Once again, I want to thank Jersey First TV and the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for hosting this event and really putting it together within just a matter of weeks. Trust me, folks, it's a lot more difficult than you think. But again, I want to thank Braddock's, the lovely ladies and the hardworking ladies from the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for hosting debate night here in Medford, New Jersey. Our final question for the evening will begin, and then we'll do a 2-minute closing statement with the candidates. And once again, we appreciate your time here tonight on debate night via Jersey First TV and the Burlington County Federated Republican Women. Gentlemen, we'll close out with this. What does it mean to be a Republican and a conservative in 2026? Mr. McGuire, 60 seconds.
Being a Republican and conservative in 2026 means the same exact thing to me as it meant when I first saw my first presidential election that I can remember in 1988, was George Bush against Mr. Dukakis. Okay, and him coming out, losing that election simply because of his crime initiative in Massachusetts that released a young man that turned around and raped a woman. That was a very clear campaign win for George Bush because of that particular issue. My conservative values have always been the same. They always will be the same. They'll be unapologetic. I learned early from an age of growing up in a family of CPAs and a family business of what actual tax policies are and how they affect people. And I remember very clearly when I started preparing the tax returns, when people would say, "Oh, I want to pay my fair share, but can we deduct this, deduct that, and deduct this?" I said, "No." I said, President Obama put that additional Medicare tax under Obamacare. You didn't realize that? You're the rich people. We're letting the federal government decide whether you're rich or you're poor based on people's incomes from Kansas. You know, so we need to reform that. We need to reform conservative values on cutting government, absolutely cutting government, and being involved in one thing and one thing only, and that's protecting our borders and protecting our children and protecting the lifestyle that we love here in America. We need to absolutely make sure that we're unapologetically pro-life. We are protecting our citizens. We go back to our roots of 250 years ago, and we look at the four corners of the Constitution, because I am an originalist, and that's what I look at the four corners of the Constitution as we celebrate the 250th anniversary this year.
Mr. McGuire, thank you very much. Some questions for you. Mr. Cullen, 60 seconds.
National sovereignty, fiscal responsibility, the Constitution, small government, but it is more important than ever that we expand and grow the party. There's not enough Republicans. Even in this race, this district, there's 26%. Okay, so even if we come out 100% united, we're not going to be able to win. We have to get those independent voters. We have to bring them on. Now, is there really such thing as an independent voter? They change the registration to independent, but then they vote one party or the other. We need to go target those independents that were Republicans and switched, talk to them, find out why did you leave the party? Well, here's what we're going to start doing different. Now, having run as an independent, I know that's a little bit of a critique of mine, but that puts me in the best position to get those independent voters who we're going to need to actually flip this district. The independent voters in this district, when I'm talking to them day in and day out, and this was even before I decided to run, they see me as one of them, a regular guy. I respect people in the party, but it's not just about the party, it is about the people. And that is the message that's going to go over to the independents. And honestly, the conversations I have, it crosses over even to some reasonable Democrats. A lot of these folks do have some of the same values as us, but we don't talk to them, we don't explain, we don't ask them what's important to them. I guarantee, I've had some conversations with Democrats and independents who share the same values. We got to find out what those values are and start having conversations with them about those values so they understand they do have a home with us in the Republican Party.
All right, very nice, gentlemen. We're about to wrap up here. Folks, if you're just joining us live, once again, welcome to debate night in the 3rd Congressional District here during the Republican primary in 2026. Once again, my name is Fernando Uribe. I'm the moderator, but also the host of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe, which I hope you'll tune into every Monday Night Live. Of course, check out the listings for start times. And of course, I want to thank the lovely ladies of the Executive Board and of course the entire organization of the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for helping me host this event tonight here at the beautiful Braddock in the heart of Burlington County right here in Medford, New Jersey. Before we get to closing statements, I just want to thank all of you again. It's been a great audience. I really appreciate the cooperation. It's hard to sort of pull these off and sort of make it all flow fluidly, but you've all been great. I think you should give yourselves a round of applause for being a great audience tonight. Once again, I want to thank the candidates for participating. I know it's not easy to sort of bring candidates together in this sort of mobile technology world where debates seem just easier to do them at home remotely. You know, I could have been home in my pajamas, I don't know, having a beer. But I chose to drive to beautiful Burlington County. And for all of you that know me, I live in Hudson County. I look at New York City every single day. And trust me, it's as blue as Windex up there. But it's always nice to travel throughout New Jersey. You know what? Why not come to Burlington County, the beautiful township of Medford, New Jersey? So I do once again want to thank Braddock, the management, and the staff here for hosting us this evening during debate night. Once again, I cannot thank Terry King enough, the distinguished chair of the Burlington County Federated Republican Women. Shout out to her. Without just countless emails at all hours of the night and day, text messaging, I could not have pulled this off without her. So thank you, Terry. God bless you. It's a pleasure to meet you today. And again, really thank you to all the lovely ladies of the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for helping me pull this event off. Without you, so thank you. For everyone at home, once again, early voting begins this weekend and polls open this coming Tuesday, June 2nd at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Make your voices heard. Now is the time to send a message to Democrats, not just in Trenton, but in Washington. Both candidates have talked about tonight how Democrats have controlled New Jersey for over a quarter century. Okay? And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of my property taxes being the highest in the country. I'm tired of the gas tax continuing to get bigger than Chris Christie. I'm tired of the tolls on the turnpike and the parkway collectively increasing every year. And while we have a new governor, and God help us with what's going to happen with the next budget, what we're hoping to do with this debate is to give you a better perspective about who's the best choice to send to Washington to represent New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. It's one of the biggest districts in all of New Jersey. And certainly, you have options coming up on June the 2nd. I want to thank you for tuning in tonight here via Jersey First TV. Of course, folks, it takes 5 seconds. If you're just tuning in live, share the replays. During debate night, I've been looking at the metrics here. I've been looking at the shares. It's been great on Facebook. It's been great on Twitter. And it's been great on YouTube. So again, do not hesitate. tonight, if you're just tuning in, to share it, email it out to all of your mailing lists for Republican committee people from different organizations here in the building. I want to thank you for attending. Certainly, it takes 5 seconds to do that tonight. Like, comment, and share. It shows your support for fearless independent journalism, which is what we bring you every single week here with Jersey First Again. It starts with Real Talk Live every Monday night, hosted by yours truly, Fernando Uribe. I want to thank Braddock and the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for helping host debate night here at Braddock's in Medford, New Jersey. On that note, we'll have closing statements. 2 minutes. We'll start with Mr. McGuire. We'll end Mr. Cullen, and we'll go up to Mr. McGuire to close out. 2 minutes, Mr. Cullen.
All right, everybody, so the main theme for tonight has been this district has the best opportunity in the entire state to be flipped. We learned that we have more independents than Democrats. We know Herb Conway's the weakest, lowest funded Democrat running in New Jersey, and this is his first term. That is when he can knock these guys out. But to do that, and to really take advantage of this opportunity, we have to make sure we are sending in the right candidate with the right message and the right focus into that general election. And guys, my focus and my message is simple: affordability and accountability. Affordability because we have to make sure the hardworking families in this district and across this country are able to get ahead and not have to scrape by month to month. And accountability, meaning we go after the waste, the fraud, the corruption, the abuse, and the backroom deals. We have to replace every single one of these out of touch, unaccountable, corrupt politicians with regular people who are actually going to fight. I don't know about you guys, I am done with the career politicians, I'm done with the establishment candidates. You know what we gotta start doing? We gotta start electing our angry neighbors, moms, dads in our communities that are fighting for their children's future. Because at the end of the day, that is who is going to fight for you. The guys, the midterms are in November, but the race for this seat, it starts on June 2nd. So I'm asking for your support, I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for you to go out and get 15, 20 other people to come out and vote so we can go into that general election, so we can throw Herb Conway the biggest retirement party this state has ever seen.
Best of luck to you and your campaign. Mr. McGuire, best of luck to you and your campaign. 2 minutes.
Here's where we are. We live in one of the most expensive districts in the state. And we live in one of the most expensive states in the country. Why? Because we have Herb Conway that's running it, that's been running the state since 1997. 1997, the year I happened to graduate high school. Okay. You have a choice in this primary. You could pick a candidate who's been chasing a campaign for 15 years, has low policy, doesn't understand finances, and has been selling as a salesman a bill of goods. Or you can have somebody that served this country under the motto of the Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis, means always faithful. I will always be faithful to CD-3. I will always do what's best for CD-3. I will always do what's best for the United States. I did that when I stepped on the yellow footprints as a Marine. I did that when I raised my right hand in the NYPD. And I did that again when I joined the Navy Reserves just a short couple of years ago as a 44-year-old man. And I continue to do that in the courtroom as I go after and defend the Constitution every single day for people that can't defend it for themselves. And I understand that you may want the pipe dreams of not having any income tax. But the reality is, this is a fact. You're going to pay $140,000 of tax. And you're not going to be able to get legislation done when you fight Republicans all day long. I am the only candidate that has been endorsed by sitting state senators, been endorsed by county chairs, and been endorsed by Republicans that he wants to fight and that he wants to hate. How is he going to go down to Washington and work with them to pass legislation? You can't even pass legislation without working with Republicans. How are you going to cross the aisle and work with Democrats? First, you're running as an independent. Then you ran as a Republican freeholder. Then you went back to a libertarian, and now you're a Republican. There's absolutely no loyalty there. I hope next is not a Democrat, so we don't need another Mr. Macy that was a libertarian that voted against the tax plans, that fractured the party. We need unity to pass legislation. We don't need 4 turncoats to keep going against the Republican Party. We don't need people that are going to bash the state GOP chair. We don't need people that are going to bash Congressman Smith for not being a conservative enough tonight. Mind blowing, one of the most conservatives I've ever met. and a champion to what used to be
I think
part
we
of
gotta
CD3.
try, I think we gotta move the filibuster up to debate, please. It is massive.
Truth. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you, and again, I want to wish the best of luck to Jason Cullen and Michael McGuire during this primary season. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, early voting begins this weekend, and certainly polls open at 6 a.m. this Tuesday, June 2nd, and we'll close at 8 p.m. I want to thank Braddock here in Medford, New Jersey, for hosting debate night. I want to thank Burlington County Federated Republican Women, and all the great men and women here in the audience tonight for a great debate, being a great audience, and I want to wish the candidates the best of luck during this upcoming Republican primary. My name is Fernando Uribe, folks. Once again, thank you to Jersey First TV and the Burlington County Federated Republican Women for hosting debate night. And we'll see you every Monday night live on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via Jersey First TV. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great Memorial Day. Thank you.
Very civil debate, but a pleasure to sit through, right?
What's that?
A very civil debate. You don't see that on national TV, do you? Why? I gotta get some air. I know. Hot flashes. Wait, I don't know, not you. Are you tired?